Okay, so for the third interaction, I had an interview with my partner, buddy, and so we just sat down and I just asked him beforehand if we could do the interview. He was like, okay, and so yeah, we've been hanging out, so it wasn't like too weird or anything. I just did it informally, but I still asked him these questions, and what I found out was actually pretty interesting. And yeah, the class that first discussing metacognition, the class that I chose was or that he chose was Chem 141, and he's a packaging major, so that's one of the requirements that he needs to get into the packaging school and graduate eventually. And so he says the course is pretty difficult, and I looked at Kufers and a few other websites, and I have some friends in Lyman Briggs, and they all say like it's a pretty hard course. Like you have to be very involved in your coursework, and everything builds upon the previous things. And so I think metacognition here is very useful because you not only learn what you're learning at that moment, but you're building upon what you learned before. And so yeah, Charlie basically told me about how yeah, there's these like simple bonds that you learn about, and then eventually that you learn how they interact with each other, and then it builds upon that. And so knowing the basics and fundamentals, and knowing about how you're actually going to learn in this course because you're provided with a syllabus, I think really helped him in taking on this course because he knew that if he paid attention in the beginning, it just make things easier for the difficult tasks that he had to complete later on in the class. And so just knowing about how he actually learned was actually pretty important too. So first semester he didn't. He said he didn't do too well in some of the core classes for packaging, and he said he had no motivation. And so I found this kind of interesting because his answer was that he got his motivation externally and not internally. And so usually motivation comes from yourself. Like you want to do what better. You want to do like you just want to impress people, but instead it came from external sources like his friends really got on his back because he wasn't doing too well, and they basically told him to start working harder. And the fact that that external motivation motivated him more than his internal motivation, I thought that was pretty interesting because for me it's the opposite. And so I thought it might have to do with his background or how he actually viewed the education in general, right? But yeah, so his motivation came from other people, and so yeah, and when he performed well in the class, he attributed it more to his luck than his abilities. Like he said, he studied hard, but then he said he got lucky on a few problems. And for me, it's the opposite again. Like if it's never luck. It's always that I worked hard enough that I deserve this grade. It's whatever I got is what I deserve. And so I found that kind of cool. How we, even though we didn't agree on that, like it was the fact that he did that. It makes it more interesting than just having the same answers. And so this Chem 41 one course, obviously no one enjoys it, and so I think that plays a factor in how difficult the course actually appears to him. But second semester, he's really stepped it up, and some resources he's actually taken full use of our. He goes to help rooms. He asks his buddies, and he goes over to Lyman Briggs. We have some people there who are in it, and he studies with people, and that's something that he necessarily did not do first semester. And so that's how we address this challenge of actually the difficulty of the knowledge. And yeah, so he can tell if he's doing well or not, and just from the fact that his test scores and the daily quizzes, if he's not actually understanding the material, and he sort of reviews it every day. He told me that after each class now that he looks at it like for half an hour just to like remember what he actually learned, and so it builds upon it, and so that muscle memory or the brain memory, it gets reinforced once again. And so then he said it really helps because after reviewing the material, he understands it better because if there's something that he doesn't understand, he tries to learn it or ask someone else, and so when he tries to learn it on his own, it benefits him even more because he goes through the thought process by himself in order to try to solve it. And I just thought that was a really cool way of actually uh, using a specific strategy in your favor. And I thought I'd try that for my classes right now. And so yeah, yeah. And so how did he learn these strategies? He basically he paid more attention in class, and so he paid more attention to his education, and he wanted to use more resources, and he used more resources by contacting his teacher, finding out there's a chem help room, making friends in class, having the friends in class really help him, and then discovering these really cool strategies like reviewing after and going through the thought process of everything, and really learning the material afterwards after it's taught, not just like yeah writing down the notes, because when you write down the notes you're taking someone else's words and just copying them. But if you actually try to understand those words and understand them in your own words, like it really helps. And like that brought out, and I just had like a conversation with him, like some strategies I used in high school bio was that I actually I'd have a question, and whatever the question was, and I'd actually say it to myself or like write it out by myself instead of looking at the notes and like, oh yeah, yeah, I remember this. Because when I do that, and he agreed with me too, like when you just look at the notes, you're already getting the answer, so it's like, oh, the retrieval's already there, and so you don't actually learn anything. It's just that you get the reward before you actually do anything. And it's like it makes it your brain makes it seem like you actually knew this, but you actually didn't, because sometimes when I do that, I do poorly on the test. So instead, I had a blank slate and just try to do what from my memory and make it into my own words and understanding how I actually thought about the thing. And so yeah, he learned a little bit about how I think, and I learned a little bit about how he thinks. And so then I just talked to him about persistence and motivation and how he actually conquers challenges. And basically, what he said was pretty cool. He says that even though there are challenges in his education, sometimes he just doesn't understand it as well as other people. He's not afraid to ask for help, and I think that's one of the biggest things, is not afraid to ask for help, because now we have the internet, we have Google, we have teachers that are willing to help, and we have the help room, we have other students. Like there's so many resources to take use of, that there's no way that you should be under resourced or saying that, oh yeah, if I just use this one, like I didn't have enough resources to study. Like there's the book, there's notes, there's the quizzes that you can study off of for the test. And he basically listed all these things, and he said that just at the like this is something that he didn't do first semester, and asking other people for help. And I thought that was so like he learned from his mistakes and learned these strategies through actually failure. And so he learned about how he actually thinks, and he uses metacognition to in an indirect way to kind of modify his approach to education, and how he or modify his approach to studying or just school in general. And so yeah, I learned a lot about how he actually motivates himself, because we're from different backgrounds. Like he says his parents necessarily didn't push him as hard as like other parents. Like, and he actually said like there's a stereotype that Indian parents push their kids really hard, and I just thought it was yeah, it's kind of true. But so he said that he kind of had to find the motivation within himself, and so I thought that was cool, just kind of learning how he thought, and like we kind of had a discussion and exchanged resource like ideas, strategies, new strategies about studying. So I thought it was very beneficial.